Tech billionaire Chief Kelechi spotted a familiar figure begging outside Victoria Island offices in the Lagos rain. The frail woman in soaked clothes was Mama Adunni, the nanny who had raised him, taught him values, and sacrificed everything for his family. His next decision would shock the business world. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. My name is Chief Kelechi Okonkwo. Today I am worth 200 billion Nigerian nairas and own one of the largest technology companies in Africa. But this story is not about my success. It is about the woman who made my success possible, and how I almost lost her forever. Her name was Mama Adunni, though her real name was Mrs. Adunni Olabisi. She was 28 years old when she came to work for my family as my nanny. I was just 3 years old then, a small boy in Lagos who would grow up to change the world, but only because of her love and guidance. My father, Chief Obinna Okonkwo, was a wealthy businessman who owned several import companies and real estate properties across Lagos. My mother, Mrs. Kayamaka Okonkwo, came from a prominent Igbo family and spent most of her time attending social events and charity galas in Victoria Island. They were good parents in their own way, but they were always busy. Business meetings, international travel, social obligations, their lives were full of important things that didn't include spending much time with their only son. That's where Mama Adunni came in. She was from a small village in Ogun State, the eldest of 6 children. Her father was a farmer, and her mother sold vegetables at the local market. Mama Adunni had finished secondary school with excellent grades, but her family couldn't afford to send her to university. When she was 25, she moved to Lagos to find work to support her family back home. She worked as a house help for different families for 3 years before my mother hired her through a domestic worker agency. "We need someone reliable to take care of Kelechi," my mother told her during the interview. "Someone who can teach him proper values and good behavior." "Ma, I will love this child like my own," Mama Adunni promised. "I will make sure he grows up to be a good man." From the first day, Mama Adunni treated me like I was her own son. She woke up at 5 a.m. every morning to prepare my breakfast. She walked me to school and picked me up every afternoon. She helped me with my homework and read me bedtime stories in both English and Yoruba. But more than taking care of my physical needs, Mama Adunni shaped my character and values. "Kelechi, my son," she would tell me, "it doesn't matter if your father is rich. What matters is how you treat people who have less than you." She taught me to greet every worker in our compound with respect, the gateman, the cook, the gardener. She made sure I said thank you and please to everyone regardless of their position. "Money can disappear," she would say, "but good character will follow you forever." When I was 7 years old, my father's business faced serious problems. The Nigerian economy was struggling, and several of his major deals fell through. We had to sell our big house in Ikoyi and move to a smaller one in Surulere. My parents were stressed and fought often about money. They talked about reducing expenses, which meant letting some workers go. "We might have to let Adunni go," I heard my mother tell my father one evening. "We can't afford to pay her full salary anymore." "But she's been with us for 4 years," my father replied. "And Kelechi loves her like a mother." "Love doesn't pay bills," my mother said sharply. The next morning my parents called Mama Adunni for a meeting. I hid behind the door and listened. "Adunni, we are going through financial difficulties," my father explained. "We need to reduce our household expenses." "I understand, sir," Mama Adunni replied calmly. "We can only afford to pay you half your current salary," my mother said. "If you want to look for another job that pays better, we will understand." Mama Adunni was quiet for a moment. I knew she sent most of her salary to her family in the village. Cutting her pay in half would make life very difficult for her. "Sir, Ma," she finally said, "Kelechi is like my own child. I don't work here just for money. I work here because I love this boy and want to see him grow up well. Half salary is fine with me." I was only 7, but I understood that Mama Adunni had chosen me over her own financial security. My father's business eventually recovered, and we moved back to a nice house. But I never forgot what Mama Adunni had sacrificed for me. As I grew older, she continued to be my guide and protector. When I was 10, some boys at school were bullying a smaller boy named Emeka. They made fun of him because his father was a bus driver and he wore old uniforms. I wanted to join in with the bullies because they were the popular kids. But when I told Mama Adunni about it, she sat me down seriously. "Kelechi, listen to me carefully," she said. "A real man never makes fun of someone who has less than him. A real man protects those who cannot protect themselves. But Mama Adunni, if I defend Emeka, the other boys will think I'm not cool. Which is more important, being cool for a few months in primary school, or being the kind of man you can respect for the rest of your life? The next day I defended Emeka from the bullies. Some of the popular boys stopped talking to me, but Emeka became my best friend. Years later he would become my business partner and help me build my company. When I was 12 I discovered computers. My school had just gotten its first computer lab and I was fascinated by the machines. Mama Adani, I want to learn everything about computers, I told her excitedly. Then we will find a way, she said. Even though computer classes were expensive, Mama Adani convinced my parents to enroll me in weekend programming courses. She used her own small savings to buy me computer books and magazines. Education is the best investment, she would say. Knowledge is the only thing that no one can steal from you. By age 14 I was already building simple websites and software programs. Other students came to me for help with computer problems. When I was 16 and preparing for my WAEC exams, I was feeling overwhelmed by the pressure to excel. What if I don't do well enough to get into university? I worried aloud to Mama Adani. Kelechi, you will do well because you have worked hard, she assured me. But even if things don't go as planned, remember that failure is not falling down. Failure is staying down. I scored excellent marks in my WAEC and gained admission to study computer science at University of Lagos. The night before I left for university, Mama Adani gave me a small wrapped package. Open it when you are feeling homesick, she said. Inside was a photograph of the two of us when I was 5 years old, along with a handwritten note. My dear Kelechi, you are not just the child I helped raise. You are the best part of my heart. Make me proud, not with money or fame, but by being a good man who helps others. Love always, Mama Adani. At university, I excelled in my studies and started a small tech business with Emeka, my old friend from primary school. We built websites for small businesses and did computer repairs. During holidays I would come home and tell Mama Adani about everything I was learning. I'm going to build a big technology company someday, I told her during my second year. I know you will, she said with pride. Just remember to use your success to help people, not just to make yourself rich. After graduating with first-class honors, I got a job at a multinational tech company in Lagos. But I kept working on my own business ideas in the evenings. When I was 25, I developed a mobile banking app that allowed people to send money and pay bills using their phones. This was revolutionary in Nigeria, where many people didn't have bank accounts but had mobile phones. The app became incredibly successful. Within 2 years, millions of Nigerians were using it. International investors offered me hundreds of millions of naira for my company. I accepted a deal that valued my company at 50 billion Nigerian nairas. Overnight, I became one of the youngest billionaires in Africa. The first thing I did was buy a beautiful house for my parents in the exclusive Banana Island area of Lagos. The second thing I did was double Mama Adani's salary and buy her a nice house in her village. Mama Adani, you don't need to work anymore, I told her. You've taken care of me for 22 years. Now let me take care of you. But she refused to stop working. This is my family, she said. I want to continue taking care of this house and watching over you, even though you're now a big man. As my business grew, I expanded into other areas: e-commerce, digital payments, cloud computing. By age 30, my company was worth over 100 billion Nigerian nairas, and I was worth 200 billion Nigerian nairas personally. I appeared on magazine covers, spoke at international conferences, and was invited to meet presidents and prime ministers. But through all the success and fame, Mama Adani remained my anchor. Don't let success change your heart, she would remind me whenever I seemed to be getting too proud. When I was 32, I met and married Amara, a brilliant lawyer who shared my vision for using technology to improve life in Africa. Mama Adani was like a mother to Amara too, teaching her family recipes and helping her understand our family traditions. 2 years later, when Amara and I had our first child, a son we named Obinna after my father, Mama Adani was the happiest person in the world. Now I am a grandmother, she said, tears of joy streaming down her face as she held baby Obinna. She took care of Obinna the same way she had taken care of me, with complete love and dedication. Everything was perfect in our family until tragedy struck. When I was 35, my father had a massive heart attack and died suddenly. My mother was devastated and fell into deep depression. Within 6 months, she also passed away, unable to live without her husband. I was heartbroken, but Mama Adani helped me through the grief. Your parents are proud of the man you became, she told me. Honor their memory by continuing to be that good man. After my parents' deaths, I assumed Mama Adani would continue living with my family indefinitely. She was 60 years old now, and I considered her my second mother. But I didn't know that Mama Adani was hiding a secret from me. For the past year, she had been sending most of her salary to her village to take care of her aging siblings and their children. Her youngest brother had died in a car accident, leaving behind 5 children with no one to support them. Mama Adani had taken on the responsibility of paying for their school fees, medical bills, and daily needs. But she was too proud to tell me about her financial struggles. She was also getting older and sometimes felt dizzy or weak, but she didn't want to burden me with her health problems when I was busy running my company. 1 month after my mother's burial, Mama Adani made a decision that would break my heart. She came to me with tears in her eyes. "Kelechi, my son, I need to tell you something." "What is it, Mama Adani? You look worried." "I have to go back to my village. My family needs me there and I am getting too old to work properly." I was shocked. "Mama Adani, this is your home. You don't need to go anywhere. My brother died and left children with no one to care for them. I am the only one who can help them. Then I'll help them too. I'll send money for their education and everything they need. You don't have to leave." She shook her head. "Kelechi, you have been too generous already. I cannot keep taking from you. I need to handle my family responsibilities myself." I tried to convince her to stay, but she had made up her mind. "I will always love you like my own son," she said. "But it is time for me to go." The day she left was one of the saddest days of my life. I gave her 5 million Nigerian nairas to help with her family expenses, but she would only accept 1 million Nigerian nairas. "Too much money can spoil people," she said with a smile. "You taught me that many years ago." For the first few months she called regularly to check on Amara, baby Obinna, and me. But gradually the calls became less frequent. When I tried to call her, she would say everything was fine, but I could hear tiredness in her voice. "Are you taking care of yourself, Mama Adani?" I would ask. "Of course, my son. Don't worry about me." But I was worried. Something in her voice told me she wasn't telling me the whole truth. 2 years passed. My business continued to grow and I was busier than ever. I kept meaning to visit Mama Adani in her village, but there was always another important meeting, another international trip, another crisis that needed my attention. I sent her money every month through bank transfers, but I realized I hadn't actually seen her in almost 2 years. Last month I finally decided to surprise her with a visit. I wanted to see her village, meet her family, and make sure she was comfortable and happy. I drove to Ogun State with my security detail, expecting to find her living comfortably in the house I had bought for her. But when I arrived at the address, I found a small run-down building with rusted zinc roofing. This couldn't be right. "Are you sure this is the correct address?" I asked my driver. "Yes, sir. This is the address Mama Adani gave us." I knocked on the door and a young woman answered. "Good afternoon. I am looking for Mrs. Adani Olabisi." "Mama Adani? She doesn't live here anymore." My heart sank. "Where does she live now?" "She moved to a smaller place after she sold this house. She needed money for her brother's children's school fees." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Mama Adani had sold the house I bought for her to pay for her family's needs. "Where is she living now?" The young woman gave me directions to an even poorer part of the village. When I found the address, my heart broke. It was a tiny mud house with a leaking roof, smaller than the servants' quarters at my house. I knocked on the door but no one answered. A neighbor saw me and approached. "Are you looking for Mama Adani?" "Yes, I am." "Is she home?" The neighbor, an elderly man, looked at my expensive clothes and car with curiosity. "She is not well, sir. She has been sick for weeks but cannot afford to go to the hospital." "Where is she now?" "She went to Lagos this morning. She heard about a job cleaning offices at night. She needs money for medicine." I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. The woman who had sacrificed everything for me was now so desperate that she was going to Lagos to beg for cleaning jobs. "Do you know where in Lagos?" She said something about offices in Victoria Island. She was going to walk around and ask for work. I immediately called my driver and rushed back to Lagos. It was getting dark and it was starting to rain. "We have to find her," I told my driver. "Check every office building in Victoria Island." For 3 hours we searched. Finally, around 9 p.m. we found her. She was sitting outside a tall office building in the rain, her clothes soaked, holding a small plastic bag with her belongings. She looked thin and frail, much older than when I had last seen her. I couldn't believe my eyes. This was Mama Adani, the woman who had raised me, who had taught me everything important in life, sitting in the rain like a homeless person. I jumped out of my car and ran to her. "Mama Adani?" She looked up, shocked to see me. "Kelechi? What are you doing here?" "What am I doing here? What are you doing here? Why are you sitting in the rain?" She tried to stand up but she was too weak. I helped her to her feet. I was looking for work, my son. Night cleaning jobs. Mama Adani, why didn't you tell me you needed help? Why didn't you call me? Tears mixed with rainwater on her face. I didn't want to be a burden. You have your own family now, your own responsibilities. I was crying too, not caring that my expensive suit was getting soaked. A burden? Mama Adani, you are not a burden. You are my mother. You are the most important person in my life. I helped her into my car and turned up the heat to warm her up. We're going to the hospital right now, I told my driver. No, Kelechi, I'm fine, she protested weakly. You are not fine. And you are never going to worry about money or medical care again. At Lagos University Teaching Hospital, the doctors examined her and found that she had pneumonia, high blood pressure, and was severely malnourished. She needs to be admitted immediately, the doctor told me. A few more days without treatment and she could have died. As I sat beside her hospital bed that night, watching her sleep with oxygen tubes in her nose, I felt ashamed of myself. Here was the woman who had given up everything for me, who had chosen love over money when my family couldn't afford to pay her, who had shaped me into the man I became. And I had been so busy with my success that I almost let her die alone in poverty. The next morning when she woke up, I was still sitting beside her bed. Kelechi, you shouldn't be here. You have important work to do. Mama Adani, there is nothing more important than taking care of you. I held her hand. I need to tell you something. I failed you. No, my son, you didn't fail me. You became everything I hoped you would become. I became successful in business, but I failed as your son. I let you suffer alone when you needed me most. She squeezed my hand weakly. Kelechi, success in business is good. But the most important success is remembering where you came from and who helped you get there. Over the next few days as she recovered in the hospital, I made some important decisions. First, I moved her into the guest house on my property in Banana Island, where my family could take care of her properly. Second, I hired a full-time nurse and doctor to monitor her health. Third, I set up a trust fund with 100 million Nigerian naira specifically for her extended family's needs, education, medical care, housing, and anything else they required. But most importantly, I made a personal decision that shocked everyone who knew me. I announced that I was stepping back from day-to-day operations of my company to spend more time with family, especially Mama Adani. Sir, you can't do this, my business manager protested. You're at the peak of your career. International investors want to meet with you. There are billion-dollar deals on the table. Then let my team handle those deals, I replied. I've been successful in business for 10 years. Now I want to be successful as a son. When the business magazines found out about my decision, they called me crazy. Billionaire steps back from empire to care for former nanny, read the headlines. But I didn't care what people said. The truth was I owed everything to Mama Adani. My values, my work ethic, my compassion for others, she had taught me all of it. Without her, I would never have become the kind of person who could build a successful business in the first place. For the next 6 months, I spent every morning having breakfast with Mama Adani. I would tell her about my business decisions and ask for her advice. Kelechi, you want to expand into new countries, she said one morning. That's good. But remember to hire local people and help them grow, don't just take profits out of their country. Her wisdom was still as sharp as ever. In the evenings, she would help Amara take care of little Obinna, singing him the same Yoruba lullabies she had sung to me 30 years earlier. Now I have 2 generations to worry about, she would joke. 6 months after I found her in the rain, I organized a special celebration. I invited everyone who had been important in our lives, former colleagues, family friends, even Emeka, my old friend who was now my business partner. At the dinner, I stood up to make a speech. 29 years ago, a young woman from Ogun State came to work for my family. Her job was to take care of a 3-year-old boy. But she did much more than that. I looked at Mama Adani, who was sitting at the head table wearing a beautiful traditional geli that Amara had bought for her. She taught that boy how to treat people with respect. She taught him that character is more important than money. She taught him that real strength comes from helping others, not from helping yourself. I paused to control my emotions. That boy grew up to become a billionaire. But the most valuable things he owns, his values, his integrity, his compassion, came from that young woman from Ogun State. I turned to face Mama Adani directly. Mama Adani, I announced tonight that I am establishing the Adani Olabisi Foundation for Child Development. This foundation will provide education, healthcare, and support for children from poor families across Nigeria. The room erupted in applause. The foundation will start with an endowment of 10 billion Nigerian nairas. But more importantly, it will be guided by the principles you taught me, that every child deserves love, respect, and the opportunity to reach their potential. Mama Adani was crying, but they were tears of joy. But there's one more announcement, I continued. Mama Adani, you have been my nanny, my teacher, and my guide. Tonight, I want to ask you to become something official. I handed her a legal document. These are adoption papers. I want you to legally become my mother, so that everyone will know what you have always been to me, the woman who raised me and made me who I am. The room was silent except for the sound of people crying. Mama Adani stood up slowly with the help of her walking stick. Kelechi, my son, she said in a voice that carried across the room, you don't need papers to make me your mother. You became my son the day I first held you in my arms. But if you want to make it official, then I am honored. She paused and looked around the room. I want everyone here to know something. I am proud of Kelechi's business success. But I am more proud of the man he became. He could have forgotten the poor woman who raised him. Instead, he remembered and honored her. She turned back to me. A mother's greatest reward is not money or gifts. It is seeing her child grow up to be a good person who makes the world better. That night, after all the guests had gone home, I sat with Mama Adani on the veranda of our house, looking out at Lagos Lagoon. Mama Adani, I have a confession to make. What is it, my son? When I saw you in the rain that night, begging for work, I realized something. All my success meant nothing if I couldn't take care of the person who made it possible. She nodded thoughtfully. Kelechi, success is not about how much money you make. Success is about how many people you help and how well you treat the people who helped you. That's exactly what you taught me when I was a child. And that's exactly what you need to teach Obinna when he grows up. I looked through the window at my son, sleeping peacefully in his crib. Will you help me teach him, Mama Adani? Of course, my son. That's what grandmothers are for. Today, 3 years later, Mama Adani is 65 years old and in good health. She lives with my family and helps raise Obinna just as she raised me. The Adani Olabisi Foundation has helped over 10,000 children across Nigeria get education and healthcare. My company continues to grow and succeed, but I make sure to spend time with my family every day. Most importantly, I learned that true wealth is not measured in billions of naira. True wealth is measured in the love we give and receive, the people we help, and the legacy we leave behind. I am grateful that I found Mama Adani in the rain that night. But I am even more grateful that 32 years ago she found a little boy who needed love and guidance, and she gave him everything she had. Sometimes the greatest success in life is simply remembering to honor the people who made our success possible. And sometimes the most important business decision a billionaire can make is to step away from making billions in order to take care of the person who taught him what really matters. Mama Adani saved my life when I was 3 years old by raising me with love and values. And when I was 35 years old, I finally got the chance to save her life in return. That is the kind of success that no amount of money can buy.